Welcome to your practice. Let's close our eyes and immediately get right into our breath. And as you breathe in and as you breathe out, we just let that question that we've been working with this week to come into our bodies. How would it feel to be completely nourished? And we can expand that question in so many ways. I just love it. You could ask the question, how would it feel to know that I was completely healthy? How would it feel to know peace deep within my being? How would it feel to be connected to universal energy, bigger energy? And you can move on and on with those questions, just bringing that question into your tissues, letting your body respond. How would it feel if my hip was really easy? From here, we just take our hands out in a big T. Again, this idea of nourishment means that we stretch, but we also breathe. And there's a tendency, I think, with those of us who love stretching and love yoga, is that we often are sort of sensation junkies. And we take these stretches like maybe even slightly farther than our bodies want. So I would encourage us all to just take the stretch without pushing it to the limit, just to feel into the nourishment of the stretch, the nourishment of the breath. This idea that the whole body is always being stretched, even if you stretch one limb. So fascially, we are all one unit. As we bring our hands up and out to the side, there is an effect in our big toes. I mean, there are effects in our skull. So you just take a moment to feel the universal expansion of this shape. And then from there, just release the hands down by your sides. We're going to inhale, take them back up again in a V, and exhale, bring them down to the ribs, and we'll start to inhale and exhale with a little more vigor. So pretty soon, you're inhaling and exhaling in X. And you let those elbows tap your ribs there to bring in sensation, but also to squeeze lymphatic fluid underneath the armpits. Inhale, exhale. And you recruit that breath as much as you need. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Release the hands down. Take a couple rolls around the shoulders. Breathing in as the movement comes up, breathing down as out when the movement comes down. And this time, the exhale, like just let it go. One more. Beautiful. Find your long, strong, and yet relaxed spine. Let your hands float up into prayer. And take a moment to make an offering for your practice today, or your day, or your life. That's your choice. You could even use one of those phrases, how would it feel to be completely forgiving? Whatever. And breathe that into your tissues, and we'll offer it with a bow. Inhaling, coming on up. Feeling those sitting bones anchoring you, and then release your hands and blink open your eyes. So we're coming onto our backs. We're moving right away into a twist with the block, and then we're going to be going into supta padangusthasana, if you want to know the real name. So you want to have your strap handy. So we'll start with the twist. So onto your back. If you need a prop for underneath your head, it could be a block or a folded blanket. We'll start, before we do our twist though, we'll start with a little cat-cow movement with the lower spine. So with our feet sitting bone distance apart and about the distance from your hands that you could tickle the heels. You take the hip points, so you can touch them if you want with your fingertips, and you move those hip points towards your thighs, and just take a moment there to feel the arch in the low spine and to match that with a little core effort. And then as you exhale, pull those hip points towards your belly and curl the spine. And that would be the exhale. So the hands press down on those bones and guide them gently towards your thighs, taking another breath there in a cow shape. Breathing in and drawing in the abdominals to make that a little bit accentuated. And then exhale, cat, bringing the hip points towards your belly and maybe even lifting tailbone, curling it off the floor. Keep going just like that. Inhaling through the cow shape. Belly draws in on the second breath there, so a couple breaths each direction, and then cat shape. Pulling tailbone, curling that up, inhaling and exhaling. Cow. 2 breaths each cycle, so you really get a chance to feel into and with the breath massage the movement. And then exhale to cat. Another breath there. Beautiful. And then release that. Take your feet as wide as the sticky mat. Take your hands out in T. And you're just going to do a couple windshield wipers. Noting here any stress on the hip joints. So if it feels nerve-wracking, then you just do little teeny small ones. And you introduce movement that feels soft. So sometimes we get to the edge of that stretch, or we go for broke, and we get to that place where we rehearse pain or dysfunction. So we just go as far as we need to just to get a little synovial fluid released in those hip joints. And we draw the belly in and up just so that we have some core support of the lumbar spine. Couple more. Breathing in and out, establishing that breath cadence that's so helpful for the practice. Good. Bring the legs back to center, take your block, and place it in between your knees. I'm going to make my legs at a right angle here. So my shins are parallel to the sky, and my thighs may not be perfectly vertical because I want to have a little core support. So on this one, it's okay to have low back to the floor. So inhale, press your low back to the floor. Exhale, stay. The next inhale, we drop the knees towards the left elbow. And towards is an important word, so you don't have to touch, but you think about your cat tilt here. So inhale, you squeeze the block, and exhale, you make that cat shape. Inhale, you squeeze the block. Exhale, you make that cat shape. One more. Inhale, squeeze the block. Exhale, cat. And come back to center. Take a cleansing breath. Relax out your legs. Second side, so there's that right angle-ish of the legs, and the belly presses down to the floor. On your next inhale, you take the knees to the right, squeezing the block. Exhale, little cat shape. Try to keep the left shoulder dropping onto the floor as you squeeze and cat. Squeeze and cat. One more, squeeze and cat. Exhale, come back to center. You can just relax the legs and let them drop into the chest. We've got one more each direction. So big deep breath in, dropping that low back to the floor, legs at a right angle. Exhale, stay. Inhale, drop the knees to the left elbow, drop the right shoulder back and down. Squeeze, inhale. Exhale, cat. Squeeze, inhale. Exhale, cat. And just start to notice how the squeeze takes the spine a little bit longer. Exhale, back to center. Relax the legs out. Take a cleansing breath. Beautiful. Inhale, drop low back to the floor. Exhale, stay. Inhale, drop knees to the right elbow. Exhale, cat. Drop the left shoulder. Inhale, squeeze. Exhale, cat. Inhale, squeeze. Exhale, cat. One more. Inhale, squeeze. Exhale, cat. And bring that exhale all the way back up. Good. Take your legs off of the block and just kick them. So now you're going to let the heels flop into your hamstrings. And so you can go inner and outer hamstrings. You just get a little bit of a massage. It's like a little percussive massage here. As we're going, our next pose is we're going to work the hamstrings. But this is a little immunity booster. So you've got lymph nodes on the backs of your knees. So with each squeeze there, you're pumping those lymph nodes. Okay, put your feet down on the floor. Take a cleansing breath and reach for your strap. I bet you felt that in your thighs as well. At least I did. So there's some good activation. So you're going to have a nice long strap. You don't really need a loop on it. A lot easier if you don't. You're going to take that strap and hook it around your left foot. So it's on the ball of your foot, not on the arch. And you start to straighten that left leg. And when I say straight, I mean towards straight. So that as soon as we try to straighten the leg, we do that hyperextension sometimes. So soften the knee and then bring a little lumbar curve into the pose so that you start to feel the broad back of the hips there on the floor. So not so much the top of the hips, the iliac crest there, and the low back flat. You want to rock those hip points forward towards your thighs, and so you feel that little lift there. And then you add just a little belly lift. And you might notice as you lift that belly that the heart also expands, and you're just getting a nice hamstring stretch here. So you're breathing, and breathing as if you could breathe into the whole back side of the leg, like it was a balloon that you were inflating. And if this is a hip that gives you any problem or issue, you would also inflate that. So sending breath places is not only great for awareness, it's great for healing. Because often pain asks us to contract. And that means that we're also not sending breath into a place that really needs it. So one more breath here. Beautiful. And you're just going to flex that knee and bring the knee towards your left rib and let the foot flex towards the sky. And again, here you can just do a little massaging. So you can bend the leg and stretch it, and you just go as far as your own body allows. So you're not trying to get super sensational here. You're just trying to move, increase your body's immunity and range of motion. Okay, last one. Beautiful. You're going to release the strap and just hug that knee into the chest and make little teeny circles. And I want you to look at the circle that your knee is painting. And I want that knee to paint this really small, maybe size of an orange or a grapefruit. And you're just watching that circle to see how circular it is. Because often we can tell things about our joints by noticing how they move symmetrically or circumferentially. Go the other way. And often that can be really a healing path to just to try to make that circle as round as possible. And sometimes that means we got to go smaller. Okay? Bring that foot to the floor, and you're going to go second side. So take your strap and lasso your right foot. Remember, it's on the ball of the foot. And take that leg towards straight, and towards being that important word. And then notice your tendency. My tendency is to rock onto the upper back of the hips and flatten my low back. And that's not a good tendency, because then I do that in other things like giving massages or doing the dishes, I flatten it out. So we just rock those hip points forward, and we feel the broadness of the left and the right back of the hip, or lack thereof. So this also gives you an opportunity to notice that one back of the hip feels really broad and flat and encounters the floor well, and maybe the other one doesn't so much. So it's a great time for reflection and breath and letting go of actions that we don't need to hold on to. And you just breathe as if you could inflate that whole right leg and hip. Sending breath fully into the body, feeling that hamstring opening gently. Let's take one more breath here. And then we're going to just flex the knee. The foot stays flat to the ceiling, and we bring that leg down towards the right rib into half happy baby. Stretching through that hip, then you're going to release the strap off to the side. You'll take your hands, let that knee drop down, or that heel drop down. Take your hands on your knee and you just do circles. And again, the other thing that's nice to notice is when you make circles with this leg, what happens to the other leg? Does it stay stable or does it rock? So ideally you want the other side of your body just to be resting. And so this abdominal on this side is working, and the circles are small and trying to be as round as possible, and then we go the other direction. So you just kind of get to know how the body, how the imbalances affect different things. Ideally, we would be able to move each limb in isolation from the whole rest of the body, but oftentimes we're kind of adhered together, and so one causes, a dysfunctional movement pattern in the other. All right, bring both knees in. Give yourself some bigger circles now if that works for you. Cat-cow in the low back, feeling that arching and that curling. Go the other way. And then drop your feet to the floor and just let your knees drop over to the side. We're going to roll all the way up. We're going to come onto our hands and knees, but with our fingertips pointing to our knees. So we get that reverse wrist stretch, and you're grabbing the floor like you're squeezing the juice out of a grapefruit, and you're shrugging your shoulders forward like you're trying to touch your earlobes with your shoulders, just to open side body. See if you can keep the neck neutral with the spine. Last breath, toes are tucked under. And then go ahead and sit on back and sweep your arms up overhead. And when you get there, lengthen the spine from deep inside. And then as you exhale, you're going to press yourself up to being on your shins. And from here, we just take our hands in the begging position and we squeeze those wrists in the other direction, super strengthening. So we're trying to get our fingertips to take our own pulse. One more breath there. And then we repeat that whole series. So the hands come down, the fingertips point towards our knees. We grab the grapefruit and squeeze it, the toes tucked under. We shrug the shoulders like we're trying to tap the earlobes, and the sitting bones move back, the core in, and the neck in line with the spine. One more breath. And then you exhale, sit on back, and then inhale, float on up. Do your begging pose, so bring your fingers to your inner wrists and squeeze. One more breath there. Beautiful. And then just start to sit on back on your shins in Vajrasana and roll your wrists around. So we're going to do a little movement practice here just to warm up the spines further in the cat-cow shape. So we'll start with child's pose. So big toes touching, knees wide and apart. And one more little comment here is child's pose can be as wide or as narrow as possible, and often it depends on your body's tendencies. So if you tend to not arch as well, the knees go wide. If you tend to not cat as well, the knees go narrow. But also if you have hip issues, it's important to pay attention to that. So you take your your child's pose, reaching your forehead to the floor, taking a breath there. And then child's pose turns into a rolling cat. So we pick up the belly and we curl the spine in a cat tilt as much as we can, taking our time. And then turning the hands slightly out, we just let the hips drop down and the elbows pull back in a little cow shape. And it doesn't have to be very much. And then we exhale back into child's pose. And that's our movement. So picking up the belly, rolling through cat. And then hips drop down, elbows pull back. For cow, you can look forward. And then exhaling back to child's pose. Inhaling up through cat. Really warming up the spine. Exhaling through cow, looking forward. Maybe each time you go back a little farther. Rolling up through cat. Arching through cow, elbows draped straight back. Shoulder blades on the back. Exhaling, last one. Inhaling, rolling up. Exhaling through cow. This time you're just going to stay there and you're just going to rock a little bit left and right. So you just look over at your left hip, look over at your right hip. It's a little bit like a swinging cobra. And you just get into those sticky places. And then from there you put your forearms down and you find Sphinx. And the toes are tucked under. And let's just switch one foot at a time. So one is tucked, and you just press, and let's tuck our right foot, and let's look over towards the left foot. And then coming back to center, we shift. We touch the left foot, tuck the left foot, and we shift and look over to the right. We'll keep going back and forth like that. Just waking up some of the side body stretch and the twist. And you exhale as you turn, and you inhale as you come together. And you exhale. Got a couple more of those. Just finding the rhythm and the sweet stretch. And then coming back together, tuck both toes under, and instead of driving yourself into the arch where you get a lot of tension in the low back, drive with the legs, but meet that with core. So it almost feels like the belly is lifting up and the tailbone is tucking towards your heels. From there, take another breath. Looking forward, Sphinx is so good for spinal health. And then exhale, flow all the way down, palms straight out overhead. We call this Danda Pranam. It's a prostration pose, and it's super good for finding length in the front of the body. I like to imagine that I have like a little ball in my belly that I'm trying to squeeze with my abdominals. So I'm just trying to shorten the front body. And you might notice that you get a little stretch, a minor stretch under your armpits or lats. One more breath, or intercostals even, making that front body short. Beautiful. And then from there, bring the hands in and then take them straight out in T. And from here, we stretch long through the right hand, like you're trying to reach out to the right. The left hand kickstands, and we roll onto the right side of the body so that you're feeling that deep stretch there. And you can stay there. Make sure your abdominals are engaged so there's no back tightness. The right forehead can rest on the floor, and you just breathe, feeling that opening across the chest. If it doesn't hurt you, and you want to be careful if you have hip issues, but you can stand on the left foot behind your right thigh. And just notice if that seems, a little challenging for you. And you can use that leg to guide the stretch. So you can gently increase the stretch for one more breath. Just a nice opening through the heart space. And then release that on down. Take a breath as you take your left arm out to the side. Glide it away from you. You roll onto the left side and kickstand your right hand. And your legs are stacked. Your forehead is on the floor, the left side of your forehead. And if you want more, you bend the right leg, just being mindful to how that feels in low back. The belly fills in the space of the low back, and you use that right foot to guide the stretch, just to open up the chest. One more breath. Feel that opening through the pectoralis muscles. And then come back to center. As we're back to center, we take our hands and we reach behind us for Shalabhasana. And then we roll the shoulders like you're trying to touch your earlobes and then touch the ceiling. And you just breathe there. If you'd like to lift up your feet, you can do that too. And then roll the shoulders as if to touch your earlobes and then up to the ceiling. And then roll the shoulders as if to touch the earlobes and then up to the ceiling. And then release that down. Plant your hands by your chest, elbows tucked in. Inhale, stretch, looking forward, coming up to tabletop and back to child's pose. Again, placing your knees in whatever configuration feels more therapeutic to you. One more breath, breathing deeply into the body. Beautiful. And then come back onto your hands and knees and bring your knees together and your toes tucked under. We're going to sit on back on our feet, release the hands by the side, and then inhale, fly them up overhead. You use the wrist as if someone's lifting up the wrist, and you use your abdominals on the exhale to swing the right leg forward. And then we just pause there, keeping those wrists extending into the sky and dropping down onto the back knee a little bit with muscle action. So you feel that stretch through the front or the back thigh, and you press down with that knee as you lengthen up through the backs of the wrists. One more breath. Find your abdominals, draw them in and up. And then rocking back using your abdominals and the lift of the wrist, step on back. Whoo! Nice, nice, nice opening of that back thigh. Here we go, second side. So inhaling, abdominals act as you swing it forward. Keep the arms up. We're causing an inversion here. And you root down with a standing knee, the back knee. If that hurts you, you should have a blanket underneath it. Otherwise, you root down and you stretch up, engaging abdominals. And just notice that stretch or not through the front thigh. Beautiful. From there, whoo, that was a long hold with the arms. Reach the hands down, lift the back thigh, and give a little rock forward and backwards for Uttanasana. If you're stiff in your Uttanasana, blocks are really nice here. If you're not, but you can touch, and you can touch the floor, then please do. If you can't touch the floor with the knees mostly straight, then you want to have blocks. So yogi's choice there to figure that out. So when we don't touch something, so if the fingertips cannot reach to the floor, we send the message to hamstrings that we're getting ready to fall, and they tighten. And then who's ever going to be able to stretch a tight muscle? So it's nice to have something to rest your hands on and to let your head hang so you feel that strong, long opening through the back body. And one more breath here. Beautiful, nourishing practice. How would it feel to be completely nourished right now? And the breath and the stretch are nourishing the tissues of our bodies, bringing in more blood and oxygen and openness. Good. From here, we inhale halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Utkatasana. This time, hands on or elbows on the knees, and we take a little squat. We're going to bring our right elbow to our left knee. We're going to bring our right hand to our left hand. And you're going to use your hands to stretch your twist, and then you're going to back off on your hands and use your core. Use your hands to press the twist, back off on the hands, and use the core. Press and release. Inhale, come back to center. You can straighten the legs and come into forward fold, and just let those quadriceps rest for a moment. Take a breath, and then inhale halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend the knees, Utkatasana, elbows onto the knees. Take your left elbow onto the right knee. Take your hands in prayer. We start by pushing the hands to take us into a twist. And we back off and use your abdominals to twist us. Press, twist, release and twist. Press and twist, and release and twist. Good. Come back to center. Bow forward, Uttanasana. And then from here, bend the knees, drop the tail, pick up abdominals, and roll yourself up to standing. Rolling the shoulders onto the back as you come up. We're going to be in standing for a nice side twist. We're going to take our right leg and tuck it behind the left leg. So that's the side that we're going to be stretching. So you want to feel that the front knee is soft and the the back foot is encountering the earth. So you really feel like, even look at it and see how that back foot knows its place. It knows earth. And then from there, sweep up that same side arm and stretch over to the side. And if you really like it, if it feels good, you grab that wrist with the other hand and you just stretch from the outer back heel out through the top of the wrist and fingernails. Last breath. Can you breathe through those intercostals like you were opening up leveler blinds and even shrugging that shoulder? Good. Inhale and come on up. Exhale. Step it together. Release your hands. Roll the shoulders. Take a cleansing breath. Let's try second side. So the left leg steps behind the right, and you take a moment to look at it, engage with it, know that it's got earth in mind. And then the other hand sweeps up and over, and you can grab your other hand if you like that, and you stretch. And you imagine those intercostals opening up the armpits. Use your abdominals. You can squeeze your legs here. It's wonderful about these cross-legged poses. It allows for that deep squeezing. And then you go leveler blinds, opening up each space, even shrugging that shoulder. And then inhaling, coming all the way up, stepping together, reaching your hands up, looking up, maybe take cactus tilt and try to open your heart to the side. Try to open the elbows as wide as you can behind you, like someone's behind you, just widening, opening those elbows. And then inhale, come up, and exhale, release. We're going to do a little shoulder flossing. Okay, so you inhale the arms up and you cross them over. So we'll start with the right one on top.
eagle arms. But instead of regular eagle, I let my hands float towards my face a little so they're relaxed. And I'm making sure that my chin isn't jutting towards my arms or my nose, that they're pulling back slightly. My elbows are a carving tool. And I've got a carving board right in front of me on its side, and I'm going to do a perfect figure 8. So I'm just going to floss the shoulders by carving a figure 8 that's lying on its side in front of me. And I'm going to try to isolate the action up above the belly button. So the hips will want to get involved if there's tightness in the low back, but you want to try to isolate that out so you're really pulling those structures apart and creating a little more openness. Good. Release that. Come back to center. Lift the elbows. Exhale. Bend the knees. Drop elbows into the belly and round. Beautiful. Release the hands. Drop the tail. Pick up the belly. Roll all the way up to standing. Roll the shoulders. When you get there, let's try second side. So inhaling, arms out to the side. This time the left arm over the right. I think I said that right. If I didn't, you'll adjust so that you make sure you do both sides equally. The hands float towards your face, but the face draws away. So it draws back. And you've got this beautiful carving tool. And now go and carve that side-lying figure 8. And you try not to involve the lower half of the body. It stays pretty stable and strong. And you try to just unstick the upper body from the lower body. And just like we floss our teeth every day, we should be shoulder flossing every day. I don't, but sometimes I wish I did because it always feels good when I do. Okay, finish that up. Inhale, lift the elbows. Exhale, bend the knees, drop elbows into the tummy and round. Round, round, round. From here, we release our hands to the floor, we lift up our heels, and we come into a little squat. And yogi's choice here, I've been enjoying lately this little ball shape. So I take my feet close together, but you could also do a regular squat with the feet slightly wide apart and toes out a little bit. And I'm just liking hugging the knees here and trying to make myself into a little teeny ball, and I squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. It's not easy because I want to lose my balance, but I'm going to keep all my attention onto my center and try to squeeze and breathe. Let's try for 2 more breath squeezes. Beautiful. From here, we just plant our hands down and we come onto our seat. We're going to do one more, I think I'll stay to the side so you can see me. We're going to do one more opening for mid, back, and shoulders. So we flex our feet. They can be wide. They can be close to the edge of the sticky mat. We take our right hand and reach across to the outer left foot. So I'm crossing across my body. And as I inhale, I shrug that right shoulder to try to touch my earlobe. As I exhale, I think extreme cat tilt, and I round the spine by pushing the abdominals back. And then I stay there, shrug the shoulder toward the earlobe on the inhale. Exhale, extreme cat. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, cat. Last one. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, cat. Beautiful. And release out of it. And the legs create this nice strong boundary that you have to open up the back, that diagonal, a little bit. So here we go, second side. Inhaling, left arm up, reaching across to the outer right foot. My right hand is like a kickstand here. My legs are super strong and stable. Inhale, shrug the shoulder like you want to touch your earlobe. Exhale, cat. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, cat. Last one. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, cat. And come on out of it.
Take your fingertips by your sides, take your legs long. We're actually gonna do that one more time, but we're gonna interrupt it with Dandasana. So Dandasana, staff pose, is legs long, feet active, and we sweep the arms up overhead. Super good for back strength. Draw the core in and up, like you're trying to pull the belly underneath the ribs. Make sure the ears are right, and my head likes to migrate forward, so make sure the ears migrate back, and you root down with the sitting bones and stretch those fingertips like you mean it. And then release. Whew. And wiggle your toes. Take a breath. Second time on that same stretch, we're going to add an option. So feet are flexed. If you want to watch one time, you can. You can do the exact same one we did last time. If you want to take it to the next level, you inhale your arm up. You reach across that foot. As you shrug on the inhale, enjoy that. As you exhale, you extend. You don't really straighten the leg. You just extend the power of the leg and you lift it off the floor. So you go shrug and then cat. So begin to join me, whichever one you chose, either keeping the heel on the floor or lifting it up. Just make sure on the exhale, it's extreme cat. And the inhale, you're shrugging that shoulder up towards your ear. Last one. So that's a combination release out of that. That's a combination core work as well as opening that whole diagonal pull along the back. So here we go, second side. Feet are flexed, make your choice. As you inhale the left arm up and across the body, you inhale to shrug again, and you exhale, either pick up the heel or keep it there. Extreme cat, work those abdominals from pubis to sternum. Inhale, shrug towards the earlobe. Exhale, inhale, shrug. Exhale, last one. Beautiful, and release. Dandasana. We take the legs out, staff pose. You could even bring the sitting bones back and apart here. Feet are strong, heels are rooted down, knees are soft. Inhale, lengthen up. Pull the belly in and up. Reaching, reaching, reaching through those backs of the wrists like you mean it. Pull that belly in. And gently release. We're going to roll back down onto our back slowly, 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 as slowly as we can. When you get there, point your toes, interlace your thumbs, and stretch the whole front side of the body. One more breath here, pointing toes, stretching the front side of the body. Tucking the chin in a little bit so the back of the neck can lengthen. And gently release, and then from here, just gently flop the feet out and in. So they go out to the side and in, and it's not a control thing, it's a release thing. So just let it go, flop, 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 flop. A couple more breaths there with that flop. Loosening up those hip joints, giving lots of sweet, gentle movement. Then bring yourself to a close. Feel the tingling, feel the aliveness. Breathe in the breath. And then you're going to bring your legs together in Tadasana, so the big toes are almost touching, and then you do similar thing, but this time accelerating. So you just press on the accelerator, release. Press, 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 press. It's again really rhythmically. Until you feel those shins getting tired. And then release that. And just feel all that flooding of energy, lymphatic fluid. You just shook up the salad dressing of your internal body and let all the goodness help remove toxins and waste products through the lymphatic system so that the blood can clean it up and dispel it. And you just watch that happening. It's like you're letting go of anything you don't need. And here's where I say namaste and thank you for joining with me in such a nourishing practice. Stay as long as you like, ideally 5 to 7 minutes, really still, relaxing the mind, body, and spirit, letting all the blessings of your practice nourish you deeply.
If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Namaste.